This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
Well, welcome all, and as always, we have got a great show for you today, and we are so happy you could join us for another edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. Lots of stuff going on today. Case in point, he's become a household name at the Perry National Fairgrounds. Coming up, how five-time grand champion Chase Roberts has dedicated his life to showing animals. Also on the program, Ray spends the day with a Georgia businessman and inventor who says he has the machine that will change the poultry industry as we know it.
And then later, the Monitor travels to Tennessee and shows you how the ag community there is coming together to help those affected by the heartbreaking wildfires that devastated Gatlinburg. These stories and so much more starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Twice a year, the Perry National Fairgrounds plays host to the Georgia Junior National Livestock Show, where hundreds of 4-H and FFA members from around the state compete for not only bragging rights, but cash prizes as well. One family has made a habit of winning grand champion over the past decade. Today, the Monitor profiles Chase Roberts of Worth County.
I'd never been around anybody, the goats and stuff like that, and I kind of thought they were crazy, but it's turned out to be a real enjoyable project, and we've learned a lot and obviously had a lot of success doing it. And
just being out in the outdoors, working with my family. That's all I've ever grew up doing. I've probably been driving a tractor since I was 8 or 9, and it's just, I love being out, seeing the outdoors and really providing for the future.
Livestock, it's just a family project, just getting to be with the family, spend the time together, watching the animal grow. It's kind of like the farming deal. You get to plant that seed and then see it sprout and grow, and whenever you know the final project is there and you have success with it, it's a good feeling. It's a lot of hours, a lot of time spent at the barn, filling water buckets, feeding, being on the right feed program, picking the right animal to show.
Looking after them, make sure they're fed right, working their leg hair, making the hair particles pop apart, really get some leg hair on them, and when you can fit them up, make them look to the best.
well, you got the responsibility of, looking after an animal, a living being, and you got to feed it, water it, look after it, keep it healthy.
I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, other than getting up early in the morning, you get to go and exhibit your livestock, hang out with friends, meet new people. It's really up in Perry how people get their tents out and set up in the alleyway. I mean, it's just the fellowship and everybody getting together and getting along and really enjoying what we do.
But there's always a point of contact with everybody, and it's just good to fellowship with those people. More than anything out of this, you just gain the friends. It's not all about the livestock, but the livestock has kind of brought everybody together.
Oh, I enjoy it. It's work in it, but the people we've met and the friends we've made over these last 11 years is just, it'd be hard to explain.
It's pretty competitive, especially, this year we really didn't do all that good during the year. We had some reserves and all, but our toughest competition, they really made us step up, and they brought a good one for us to compete against this year, and we done our job, and in the end we beat them. There's a lot of good benefits you can do through 4-H and FFA, livestock, a lot of other programs. You get scholarships, pay for school. There's a lot of fun things you can do.
Later in life, showing livestock is just giving you the responsibilities to care for something, to have compassion to do something, to do well at something. Livestock it just gives you that drive inside of you that you want to succeed. You want to be the man on top.
Great story, great family. Well, as you know, Georgia is one of the leading cotton producers in the nation, and the crop has a huge impact on Georgia's economy.
Recently in Tifton, growers gathered for the Georgia Cotton Commission's annual meeting to discuss important information that will help keep the industry profitable in Georgia. The Monitor's Mark Wildman has the report.
At the University of Georgia's Tifton Campus Conference Center, a large crowd attended a very important meeting for Georgia's cotton industry. Georgia cotton producers gathered important information on many critical issues that have a direct impact on Georgia farms and Georgia's economy.
Cotton's the largest row crop in the state of Georgia. We're growing in about 90 counties. We contribute somewhere around $2 billion a year to the state's economy, and it's very important. We're the second largest cotton producing state in the country behind Texas, and about 80 to 90% of our cotton is exported either in raw fiber or in yarn or finished fabric.
The cotton industry, as well as all other sectors of agriculture, are concerned about issues in Washington and how they will impact Georgia producers.
With the new administration, certainly new cabinet being put in place and a lot of officials, political appointees that are coming in. So really an opportunity to reset on a lot of areas. One of those would be with the EPA and regulatory challenges and burdens that our industry has been facing the last several years. And so with that new team coming in at EPA and kind of a new view of things, we think there's an opportunity to try to roll back and provide some relief on the regulatory front. Also with USDA and the nominee there for Secretary of Agriculture with former Georgia Governor Sonny Perdue, we're very excited about that and really look forward to working with him.
Georgia produces some of the best cotton in the world, and even though fiber quality is very high, the cotton industry as a whole faces many hurdles.
Globally, our challenge is with competition across the fiber segment, and specifically competition with man-made fiber, polyester, for example. There's huge overcapacity globally for polyester production. And so what that's done in recent years is driven down the cost of polyester and made it more competitive relative to cotton.
The Georgia Cotton Commission works hard all year to promote the crop and relies on growers to stay connected so that Georgia cotton stays plentiful and profitable.
The Commission does a lot of comments on crop protectants, whatever, and we have those on our website, georgiacottoncommission.org, and one of the things that it'd be really great for them to do is, when they have some time, is read those comments and make their own comments. It's easy to do. You can do it online, and what we're battling here is a lot of our environmental groups and folks who are not connected with agriculture engage social media campaigns to get folks who know nothing about agriculture to speak against us and the crop protectants that our farmers have got to have.
So even though changes are on the way, the industry is still strong, and it benefits from farmers who produce a high-quality crop, good support from groups like the Georgia Cotton Commission, and hopefully a political climate in Washington that understands the value of one of Georgia's most important crops. In Tifton, I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Mark, thank you so much. When we come back, could this machine be the answer to helping poultry processing plants be more efficient? We'll introduce you to its inventor who says, yes, it can.
Hi, I'm Glenn Hickman from Hickmans Family Farms in Buckeye, Arizona. We sell eggs. We've been a family-owned and operated farm since 1944. The business began when our grandparents, Guy and Nell, started selling eggs laid by hens in their own backyard. And our parents, Bill and Gertie, expanded the business with 500 hens. Our dad would work on the farm in the morning and deliver eggs in the afternoon. In the early days, one little refrigerated panel truck was big enough to deliver the fresh eggs to small grocers and restaurants in the area. Today, that one truck farm has grown into a multi-site operation based in Buckeye, Arizona.
Our hens produce eggs here in Buckeye. What happens is the chicken, who's safely in her barn, lays the egg. After the egg leaves the hen, it rides on a series of conveyor belts up to our processing machine. Then goes through a series of 2 washing machines. It then comes up, gets dried. The automatic check detection system sends sonic signals through the egg to listen and make sure that it's perfect quality inside. Next, it rolls past a series of cameras. The cameras look both at the inside of the egg as well as the outside to look for any abnormalities. It goes then to the weighing system, and in 1/100th of a second, the computer determines if it's a jumbo, extra large, large, medium, or small, and sends it to a egg packer. It drops into the egg packer, of which all large or all jumbos come in. gravitates down and makes its way into the carton.
I'm not sure that we do anything that's a lot different than any other one egg company. We just do them all. We do everything from growing baby chicks to processing our own eggs to further process both liquid and cooked products. We do organic eggs, cage-free eggs, standard eggs, and we distribute all of our own eggs from Colorado all the way through Hawaii. I just think that we're a family engaged in feeding other families. We've been doing it now for 73 years. And we hope to be doing it for a lot longer. We have the next generation already involved, and they're working their way up our company ladder.
Well, if there was ever an example of good things come to those who wait, it's Hall County businessman and inventor Robert Grizzle. For 14 years, Grizzle worked diligently in hopes of revolutionizing the poultry industry, in particular, the hanging steps during processing, and to help make the job more tolerable for the workers processing the chickens. Well, Grizzle's dream is now a reality, with companies like Tyson willing to pay top dollar for his invention. According to Grizzle, that determination and passion can be attributed to his upbringing. For as long as he can remember, Robert Grizzle has always been into tools and building things from the ground up. It's evident by his antique tool collection in the barn he, of course, built himself. That love of tools, says Grizzle, started at an age when others like himself were just learning to talk.
Well, I guess as far as I can remember back is about 3 years old. I have flashbacks of other earlier things that I did, but I just see that my mother and my father just recognized something in me that I love to build stuff. I love to create things. They obviously had bought me tools. At 3 years old, I actually had a hatchet. My 5-year-old brother got it, nearly cut his hand off, got sewed up with stitches, and got a spanking for getting my hatchet from the younger brother. They just continued to buy me tools at Christmas. That's what I wanted, other than a couple of Hot Wheels. And then it just grew after that. I was always wanting to design something, to invent something. I would have these ideas that I would talk to people about. I would draw it out.
Eventually, that led to the now 53-year-old Grizzle starting his own machine manufacturing company, specializing in industrial vacuum systems for chicken processing plants. While working a trade show one afternoon, a chance encounter would change his life forever.
Being at the Atlanta Poultry Show, I was in a booth, and just fortunate that someone from Campbell Soup came looking for someone else that was not there, and came over and started talking to me and asked me a question. Can you build a live hanging system for chickens? You know, I was young. I said, well, I feel that I can. Well, I immediately thought how I would do one thing of moving the shackle into a horizontal position, which turns out was a great thing because nobody had ever patented the orientation of a shackle. And that's a key thing to my patent, is the fact that I do have a patent on the orientation also of a shackle, which is used in any type of food industry. So it just kind of evolved, and then I building equipment, and then I'd work on it a little while, and then we finally got to the stage where I could actually do all of the drawings, did a patent search myself, and applied for a U.S. patent on the machine. I was all excited and thought, wow, this is it, and then I got a rejection letter.
Where are you going? You driving the tractor?
And Grizzle would indeed have the last laugh. For some, that letter would have been the end of the dream. But for Robert Grizzle, the pain of rejection made him even more determined. In 2016, his patent was finally approved. However, even though he stands to make millions, Grizzle says money was never the motivating factor. To him, even more concerning was the welfare of the chickens and the people processing them.
My grandmother, on my father's side, she worked 36 years in one of the first chicken plants there ever was. The first modern plant was Jesse Jewell, and it was right around the corner from the shop here, and my grandmother worked on the eviscerate lines for 36 years. She would come into my first shop of my own, and she'd look at the stuff I was building, and she'd say, Robert, you're putting people out of work. And I talked to her, I said, really, Granny, I'm not. I'm helping them have a better place to work. Because lots of times in this case, this machine replaces maybe 14, 16 people, but they would not lose their job. They would move simply to a different part of the plant. And the people that do run the machine is not going to come home covered in excrement. They're going to come home clean. They're not going to come home with sore wrist. So it's making their life better. Looking at my background and where I came from, the ability that gave me the insight to be able to create this machine, one that works, I can still honestly say one thing. That document, that's only about 6 or 7 pages long, most patents would be 20. Holding that document, I know one thing. That piece of paper is worth more to me than the money that the concept is worth.
Priceless indeed, just like his grandson Gavin and granddaughter Jordan, who he is very close to, as well as Sparky, his pet goat, who you saw there in the piece. Now, Robert Grizzle tells me he is currently in talks with some manufacturers about his hanging system. Talks also continue with Tyson Foods. However, he tells me there is no timetable on a possible decision. Kenny, we'll go ahead and send it back to you.
All right, Ray, thanks so much. According to American Farm Bureau, recent executive actions by President Donald Trump could open the door for Congress to consider immigration reform. President Trump signed 3 executive orders addressing border security and other immigration issues. AFBF Congressional Relations Director Christy Boswell says Farm Bureau policy supports border security.
We want to make sure our workforce is legal and valid to work in the United States. However, the reality is over half of our workforce is undocumented. And so we want to make sure that there is thoughtfulness by the administration in their approach, recognizing the nature of our workforce. The President's executive action directly focusing on border security is hopefully a positive step to secure the border. And I also hope that it will also free up the logjam in Congress of border security first.
When we come back, the story of how Tennessee 4-H and other agencies have come together to help families and victims impacted by Gatlinburg wildfires of 2016. Stay tuned. The devastating fires that burned Gatlinburg late last year destroyed homes, businesses, thousands of acres of forest, and claimed 14 lives. Now efforts are ongoing to rebuild and help people get their lives back. Charles Denny has more on how UT Extension is helping with simple gestures of giving, collecting, and kindness.
Internet video shows just how terrifying it was as people drove through the Gatlinburg fires of late November, flames on both sides of the road. Later, the remains of buildings and even the shells of vehicles offer a stark and sad glimpse of just how destructive this tragedy was. People lost their homes and businesses, and some lost their lives.
Like there was fire coming from the bottom and from the top, from both sides.
Melissa Dove and her family did manage to escape the flames, but the mountaintop cabin they've rented for 8 years is now gone.
I just had no idea that our house would burn. I mean, even when we saw the fire on our street, I still had hope and the belief that our house would still be there.
The slogan that's going around is mountain tough and people here are strong. And
4-H agent Glenn Turner is leading an effort to help people like Melissa and some 60 Sevier County 4-Hers and their families who've lost their homes. Turner coordinated a gift card collection, donations coming in from 16 different states and totaling more than $60,000. Also, the staff at the UT Extension office put together care bags for students and teachers at Sevier County schools.
We're just trying to make an initial contact with those kids that have been affected and put some things in their hand to say your 4-H family is thinking about you.
This tragedy was especially tough for Tennessee 4-H. Of the 14 people who died in the blaze, 2 of the victims were young sisters. Both girls were 4-Hers, and both gave speeches at 4-H club meetings about 10 days before the fire. Meantime, UT Extension is trying to help in other ways. At the Pigeon Forge Library, consumer experts help residents who lost valuable documents in the fires.
It's a very initial part, actually, of putting your life back together, because birth certificates or driver's license or photo IDs are so basic to everything we do.
Joe Wagner came in. He lost his home, which included the military vet's service records. But Mr. Wagner says that's fine. He survived.
If we had done what some people might have thought about, and that is, I need to get my good stuff together, my important papers together, we might not have gotten out.
Mr. Wagner and Melissa Dove both say how grateful they are for the support and help from others. Papers, businesses, and homes are all replaceable. It will take time and work, but a spirit survives here, one boosted by giving, kindness, and toughness. This is Charles Denny reporting.
Finally today, with planting season for corn quickly approaching, producers from around the state gathered in Tifton recently to get the latest update on techniques, irrigation, and fertilizer.
Damon Jones gives you some of the key points from that meeting.
With the cool temperatures fading away, it's almost time for corn producers to start putting seed into the ground. And as always, a good crop is the product of proper planning and execution from the farmer. That's why attending informational events like this corn short course in Tifton is so important, especially considering the price of corn heading into the new year.
In an environment of lower prices like we've got this year, we've got to be efficient, but we cannot save our way to prosperity. We have to spend the money. We have to focus on give attention to the needs of that plant, because that plant is a living organism, right? And when it's stressed, it's not going to be very effective for you. So what we try to do is provide information that we can mitigate that stress, whether it's irrigation, whether it's fertilizer, whether it's planting time, whether it's fungicides, insecticides, whatever it might be. To me, the farmer needs to be proactive in thinking ahead, and that's what we try to do at a place like this.
Proper timing was also a major issue being stressed, as planting at the right time as well as caring for your crop in a timely manner will ensure a quality yield.
If you're late with your management, then you're behind. And that's stress. So that crop is growing whether we like it or not. When you plant that seed, it starts growing. Every day it's doing something.
And to raise a good crop, it must first have a solid foundation, which is why the planting season is so vital for the producers. And the first step is making sure your soil is ready.
The planter's not set up for uniform planting depth, or they're not paying attention to what I call the microenvironment around the seed. So to germinate the corn, we've got to have uniform moisture and temperature, or if the moisture and temperature around that individual seed isn't the same as the next seed down the row and the next seed down the row, we're not going to get that uniformity. So ears per acre is what we're after. Every 1,000 ears per acre is worth 5 to 7 bushel. So if we go out to our fields and the difference between our plant count and our ear count is a big separation, then we're leaving a lot of dollars or bushels on the table.
Once the planting begins, there are a number of factors to look for to make sure there is a uniform stand.
So a lot of things cause misplaced seeds, like your planter not running level, too high of planting speeds, rough seed beds, anything that's going to make that row unit bounce up and down. So those are the things that we try to concentrate on to get that uniform picket fence stand, but have uniform plant-to-plant spacing.
They say a craftsman is only as good as his tools, which is why keeping your equipment in top condition is a must.
And there's a lot of fine-tuning that we can do before we ever even head to the field. Different adjustments, measurements, knowing when to replace parts, when parts are still okay, and then basically a lot of adjusting of the parts that are on there. And then when we do head to the field, there's still going to be things that we need to do, like making sure our planter's running level, making sure our planting depth is good, adequate down pressure, and our closing wheels are doing what they're supposed to.
Reporting from Tifton, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Damon, thank you very much, sir. That is going to do it for this week's edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Just a reminder, for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm, be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and here on the Farm Monitor Show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
As always, have a great week.